Hello, and welcome to this overview of property disputes in historical romance books. I'm Olivia, your favorite resource for book recommendations you can easily screenshot, and you're watching Random Olive Reads. So, what exactly is this problem here? Well, sometimes one of the major conflicts that our two main characters have is a dispute over the ownership or purchase of the same property. Often, both parties have some sort of claim on an estate, and it's unclear who really owns it. This setup helps to build conflict between our two main characters and forces them to continually interact as they try to solve the question of who gets to keep the property. No Man's Mistress by Mary Balog is book 2 of the Mistress series. Ferdinand Dudley has won Pinewood Manor in a card game. He shows up at the manor to claim his prize, but it is already occupied by Viola Thornhill, who was the beautiful stranger he met the night before at the town festival. Ferdinand and Viola fight their attraction for each other while they try to figure out who has the rightful claim to the manor. Why is it that Viola looks so familiar to Ferdinand, and how and why was the manor left to her in the first place? Ferdinand learns to love the countryside and makes nice with the townspeople. Viola has a mysterious past, and Ferdinand's brother, the Duke of Tresham, is a pretty big hypocrite once he finds out who Viola actually is. Lady Meets Earl by Christy Carlisle is book 2 of the Love on Holiday series. Our poor guy James is being threatened by a loan shark after losing all his money from his shipping business. He has inherited an earldom from his estranged uncle, but finds out that the estate is in debt with only one property potentially worth selling. In another part of town, Lady Lucy is living her ever helpful, nearly spinster life and gets invited to visit her feisty aunt for a while. While traveling to the estate via train, she bumps into James and they make friendly acquaintance with each other. Unfortunately, they soon find out they've ended up at the same destination. Lucy's aunt is occupying the house that James needs to sell. And while it seems like this could be a major conflict, Lucy's pretty mature about the situation and strives for transparency and communication. It is actually really nice to read about these two people open up and communicate. 4 Weeks of Scandal by Megan Frampton is book 5 of the Hazards of Dukes series. Octavia and Gabriel fight over who actually owns her late father's house. Both Octavia and Gabriel have gambling fathers who tend to lose to each other with regularity. While they try to figure out who has the rights to the house, they enter into a fake engagement and start to restore the house. I really enjoyed reading about the bookish and steady hero who just wants a place to call home. The Devilish Mr. Danvers by Vivian Lorette is book 2 of the Rakes of Fallow Hall series. Hedley has inherited a crumbling cottage and decides she will live there to get away from her abusive family. Rafe wants access to the same cottage because of some family artifact hidden there and decides he should try to help Hedley marry someone else so that she will move out. Of course, in their arguing and bickering, they end up with each other instead. The Good, the Bad, and the Duke by Jana McGregor is book 4 of the Caversham Heiresses series. Daphne accidentally gets left in London alone at Christmas time in a mix-up of whether she's traveling with her brother or her mother. She goes for a walk in the park and gets her reticule and journal stolen, and she chases the boy to a gambling hell. While she's at the gambling hell, she runs into Paul, who is one of her brother's childhood friends turned enemy. Now, these two work together to help Daphne recover her journal. In the background, we see that there's a disagreement about the property that Daphne wants to purchase and use as her charity house for unwed mothers, but Paul also wants to use as a hospital in honor of his brother's illness. The property argument is actually pretty small compared to the drama that or potential scandal that Daphne is facing with her missing journal. Of course, when Daphne's family comes back and starts meddling, we get even more drama because obviously they don't approve of Paul. The Spinster's Guide to Scandalous Behavior by Jennifer McQuiston is book 2 of the Seduction Diary series. We start here with a tragic prologue for Thomas, a young drunken marquess who is at his sister's funeral, and his fiancée has just broken off their engagement. We jump 3 years after that for present day, where the eccentric Lucy, a Viscount's daughter, is not looking forward to her debut season. With a delayed debut after some family scandal, she is 21 years old and stubbornly set in her ways. She surprisingly receives a package after her aunt's death with her aunt's diaries and keys to her seaside cottage, offering the ability for Lucy to make her own decisions about her future. Unfortunately, meddlesome men make trouble when her father sells the property without her consent or knowledge to Thomas, who has been holed up in the small seaside town for the past 3 years. Lucy, of course, denies the sale, refuses all negotiation, and sets off to inspect the property herself. Lucy and Thomas are at odds for most of the story here, with Thomas wanting very badly to purchase the property and Lucy not trusting his motives. It is fun to see Lucy start to see a more honorable side to Thomas in his interactions with the folks in town, and I like seeing how Thomas appreciated Lucy's stubbornness and outspokenness. The Duke Gets Desperate by Diana Quincy is book one of the Sirens in Silk series. Anthony thinks that he will finally get possession back of the family castle after his stepmother tragically passes away, but it turns out she left the castle to her cousin who has just arrived to visit from America. Raya doesn't want or need a castle and is more than willing to sell it to Anthony at fair market value, but he also doesn't have any money. These two argue their way to a truce while also ogling each other and trying to resist their simmering attraction. Add in the mystery of what has happened to Anthony's missing relics and the suspicious nature of his stepmother's death, and we've got plenty of plot to keep your attention on this book. I like the overall setup of the book since I love a good property dispute trope, and I also like the way that Anthony appreciated Raya's financial competence. Both characters were extremely stubborn, and there was maybe one too many instances of miscommunication in the story when they should have just directly confronted the other person. Still, this was a steamy read with a setup of Anthony's friends, who I'm hoping we'll see in future books. The Prince of Broadway by Joanna Shoup is book two of the Uptown Girl series. Florence, younger sister of Mamie from the first book in the series, wants to open her own casino. In order to learn from the best, she attempts to get a lesson in casino running from Clayton, the most notorious casino owner in town. While she's busy sneaking out and hanging out in the seedy part of town, Clayton is working on some behind the scenes real estate deals that will attempt to destroy the wealthy man that ruined his own family. Unfortunately, that man is Florence's father, and the house that's being targeted is her grandmother's residence. And as he and Florence grow closer, he has to choose between his affection for her and his quest for revenge. The Lady Tempson Heir by Harper St. George is book three of the Gilded Age Heirs series. Maxwell is called back to England from America after his father suffers from heart problems, and he is tasked with marrying and siring the next generation to take over the company, or else his sister August might lose her business deal. When he crosses paths again with the widowed Lady Helena, the attraction he feels for her is reignited. Knowing that they don't really have a future together on opposite sides of the ocean, he proposes a fake courtship and subsequent fake engagement so that he can appease his father long enough not to jeopardize his sister's project. Lady Helena is facing her own parental pressure to marry in order to continue with her charity work with abandoned women. She agrees to Maxwell's proposal since she's friends with his sister as well. But Helena definitely doesn't want to marry because she knows that she's not able to have children. Of course, these two are actually attracted to each other and can't seem to keep from being heartbroken. We have another subplot here with Maxwell and Helena going after the same piece of property, trying to purchase it for each of their own projects. And then Maxwell just kind of doesn't understand Helena's purpose and mission. So we have a lot of angst here. It was fun to read Helena and Maxwell's flirting and banter, and we continue to see the rift between Maxwell and his siblings versus his parents. Thanks so much for watching this video. Links to all of the books are in the description box. Like and subscribe so you don't miss future videos, and you can follow me on Instagram at randomolive.